Let's get it. All right. Another episode of Strength We Trust. Super excited to have one of my close friends in here as a guest. Been meaning to have him on here since we started. I'm really happy to have him. My boy Percell Dugger, my man.
Good to see you, bro.
It's great to see you, man. Seriously. My co-host, of course.
Rashawn English.
Yes. And
Back again.
We're just excited, man. Like I said, we're building this community out brick by brick. We're trying to motivate you guys, teach you guys, and, every step of the way. So let's get this thing going. I mean, look, first things first, my man, thank you again for coming on. It really is a pleasure, man. Seriously.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward
pleasure to
the
meet you.
conversation.
Our connection is through Mike. This is our first time meeting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I remember reaching out to you a couple times because I'm like, yo, this guy is doing some amazing things. I just wanted to give you your flowers because I'm big on that.
Man,
so I'm it's a pleasure finally sit on the couch and get to talk to you and hear a little bit more about your story.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously. So look, what we're doing here with Strength We Trust, right, is no matter everybody's background, whatever their skill work is, whatever their history is, whatever age, size, whatever, the promotion of strength training, right? And why it's beneficial across the board, no matter who it is, right? I don't care if you're a runner, you do yoga, you do Pilates, you're a mom sitting at home with 2 kids,
right?
You know what I mean? Nothing is ever going to go wrong with strength training. And that's what we're here to promote. And we know you are leading the way in the running community, especially here in the city. And I just kind of want you to, speak to that and how you're translating that to your own runners. Because I know the benefit of it is.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, right? Because if you can, runner or not a runner, if you can, deadlift, 2 times your body weight, let's just say, but you can't stand on one leg for like upwards of like a minute and a half, it's like, ooh, there's probably something wrong there. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you can squat, heavy, but if you go to do like a split lunge hold and you're not able to maintain that position for upwards of like a minute, 90 seconds, it's like, yeah, there's probably a problem there. I feel like the unfortunate part about it is that just society as a whole has a very like limited understanding of what strength training is. It's like you say strength training to someone, they immediately think bodybuilder.
Right away.
100%, 100%.
And I think strength training, as we understand it, is really about a level of internal resiliency that you have to external forces.
1,000%.
I love how you said that.
Yeah.
Whatever is happening outside of my body that interacts with my body, I am resilient enough when I engage with that thing to like come out of that interaction or that exchange of energy in a positive like way. And I think when I think about running or just fitness in general, I think if people had a broader sense of what it meant to strength train, recognizing that as you age, like your bone density increases, recognizing that as you age, right, the level of like neuromuscular efficiency, which is essentially your brain's ability to like send signals to your nervous system to tell your muscles to contract, your joints to mobilize, etc. That is like one of the leading causes of death in like elderly people.
Absolutely.
Right. So like I am one to believe that, rest is a form of care, and I'm encouraging everyone to get enough sleep and, take care of themselves. But I also want to name that a lack of movement, a lack of strength training is not a good idea for you as you age.
Nope.
However, strength training isn't limited to looking like a bodybuilder or training like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I don't want anybody. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. If that's your thing, that's your thing.
Like,
but
live your life.
for the general population, I don't think that's the life that they really want to live, because the sacrifices you have to make to look like that. I mean, you got to leave room for the other things in life. I want people to enjoy life, and when you commit to that lifestyle, it can really consume you. I've seen it. Yeah, it's tough. So that's not realistic for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, and again, folks who that's their thing, shout out to y'all. I just know that if our industry was a bit more, I would say, forward thinking and more intersectional in the way that we think about and talk about and market the idea of being fit and or healthy and or just strength training as a whole, that a lot more people would feel invited to participate in that modality, in that area. And ultimately that would have an impact on the numbers in which we see in terms of like heart disease, diabetes, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's exactly what we're trying to speak to. Is you have this general population that is somewhat turned off to the idea of strength training because of social media and things of that nature, where they see these people living this lifestyle and the aesthetics of it and everything like that, and they're deterred because they either, one, feel like they can't attain those goals,
Right.
they can't give that same amount of time and effort and energy to get those kind of results.
Yep.
And so instead of just giving it an effort, they'd rather just say, that's not for me, I'll pass.
I think a positive thing I have seen, I never forget when Lori Harvey showed up. I think she was at it was on TikTok first, but I think she was at like the Met Gala or something.
Mhm.
And like she was snatched. And they asked her like, Lori, how'd you get your body? And she said Pilates. And I kid you not, you know, I know, y'all know
Yeah.
that like as professionals and practitioners in the fitness industry, we know that Pilates is like someone's last name. We know that was birthed from someone taking like their movement practice and essentially like scaling it.
Yep.
Right. Which is brilliant. That's genius.
1000%. Yeah.
And I think
he was a former boxer.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I not believe, what I know is that Pilates, taking a reformer, the chair, the Cadillac, I've taken these classes. That is a form of resistance training.
Absolutely.
And resistance training is a different way of saying strength training.
Yes.
Yep.
So to me, when I see people, when I see women, when I see homies of mine, friends, people I know taking Pilates, like I'm like, fam, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I'm the kind of person that believes that you do not have to, like all of the tools that I like to use are simply tools.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
can achieve an adaptation. For those listening, adaptation just means change. I can get my desired changes or results using any tool that I need. So if it's strength training, using a barbell, a kettlebell, a dumbbell, a Pilates reformer, the little bangle things you put around your wrist,
Your wrist.
a mat class,
Mm-mm.
I really don't care, because I
Exactly.
do believe that it's more so about you being able to personalize that relationship
Mhm.
and do it in a sustainable way than it is about you being able to bench a certain amount or squat a certain amount. Like until you come to me and tell me that you have a goal in terms of like, I want to run a certain time for
Exactly.
a marathon, or I want to like jump out the gym and be a basketball player. Until we start talking about very specific things like that, if it's just, man, I want to lose some weight, I want to gain some weight, gain some more mass or whatever, or I just want to be a healthier, fitter person, I honestly don't care.
And that's the
Exactly.
mindset of somebody who's been in the game for a while.
Right.
Right. You see a lot of the new coaches, new trainers out there, they don't think like that. And I used to be like that. Like
Right.
when I first got into it, you know, I was coming from being a wrestler. I got into like bodybuilding type of training. And,
Right.
you know, when people would tell me I do yoga or Pilates or running, I'm like, I was judging them like, yo, you're not really getting it.
Right,
You
right,
don't
right.
really get it.
You know what?
You're not about it. But then I got to a place where I was like, you know what? Like they're moving.
Right.
Like I can't hate on their movement practice because they're moving. So, you know, after that, you know, I started exploring different things. I tried Pilates, I did the yoga because I wanted to know what that felt like so that I could find the gaps in what they were probably missing in their program. So my goal was always to supplement what they're doing with the things that will allow them to do it for the long term.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, man. That's actually, I think that's just really mature and also just really like great and positive that you said that, because I do believe that, you know, I would like to believe that a lot of people thought like that, but I feel like there's a number of coaches.
They
I
don't.
mean,
They
you
don't.
see
I mean,
very-
we talked about this on a previous podcast with the way social media is set up now is it's very like specific community based.
Yep.
Like
The
if you're not,
tribalism.
like if you're not practicing in this single form of modality,
Then you're
then-
losing. Then you're
then you're
wrong. You're not
losing.
going.
Yeah.
You're
Right?
not going to hit your goals.
if you're not
Yeah.
doing what we're doing in this tiny little community, then you're losing. You're not going to get the results you're looking for. You're not going to get what you want out of training. And that's why I said it. We both have gone through those phases where you tap into different type of modalities over the years and you find a respect for them.
Right.
And going back to what you were saying, they're all just tools. And I feel like we can all work out of the same toolbox, and how you organize your toolbox, that's on you, right? We all working out of the same toolbox. We don't have to sit there and pick certain little things out and one's better than the other. They're all in the same box.
Yeah.
It's just how we formulate that, I feel like is, that's on good coaches.
Yeah, I agree.
That's on good coaches. So I know, they don't know yet, but I'm sure a lot of people do. You started a very big community and push for this, not just for strength,
Got you.
but a bigger aspect in the physical health and wellness space.
Yeah.
And I want to give you your flowers for it because I've watched it over the years.
Oh,
Fit
man,
For Us
thanks,
community
man.
grow, and I've loved to just seen it from the outside and on the inside, and got to see how you've been moving and how you've been growing. And I just want to, just want you to talk about it with us.
Yeah,
man.
definitely talk about that because I love the growth that's happened for you guys, and I want people to understand what it's about.
Yeah, it's so weird, man. Because I legit was texting. I got a text from. I had went on vacation maybe like 2 weeks ago because I needed a break.
Mhm.
And when I was on my break, I posted about needing a break, and somebody hit me. Somebody I'm cool with. Her name is Chanel, but like Chanel's a mom. She dates. She living her life. She's also a coach, and she was also one of like the early supporters of Fit for Us. And I remember forget she was like, I told her I was like, sometimes I just feel like all them kickbacks I threw on my rooftop at my crib, all the times we done met up for drinks and just hung out, and all the times we just was like fellowshipping. It wasn't even about like work. We were just kicking it.
Yeah.
I was like, sometimes I just feel like it was all in vain. And she was like, nah, P, like you don't understand. Like what you have been doing is like amazing. And I think
Yeah.
it's nice to hear that sometimes because I
Mhm.
feel like when you are leading something, you get so busy on doing the work and doing the work and doing the work. And if you don't get the result, sometimes you feel like the work wasn't worth it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I had gotten like to a point where I felt like, man, like, is this even panning out? And I knew it was, but like, it was great to hear it for somebody. But Fit for Us, initially, I can say this now because, it's been like removed and with like 3 years away out from it. But initially it started off as a group chat. It was for Black coaches. Like if you were a fitness professional, you know, you were in that group chat and we're really just venting about our frustrations and how much it sucked to work at places like Equinox, et
Mhm.
cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Then it broadened up. It was more just like Black health professionals. So now we
Yep.
had like OBGYNs, we had pharmacists, we
Yep.
had registered dietitians. Like it was like, if you were in the health industry as a professional, jump in
in.
here, right? We were featured on the cover of Self Magazine, which is one of Condé Nast's, it is Condé Nast's like wellness and or like fitness like magazine. They really don't have like a default one, but that is theirs. And that was a big deal. But even that, I had my reservations about because I felt like that there were a number of people who were showing up simply just to be there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where I knew that there were people who were like, I was actually close with, who I felt like were doing work that was community centered. And, Conde Nast were like, nah, we need influencers. We need people who are going to allow this story
To grow.
to grow and drive awareness for it. And that was my first learning about the business of digital media or just
Yeah.
media in general and
Mhm.
how that's the reason why influencers are needed sometimes is because they can distribute awareness to a moment better than the actual brand themselves.
Mhm.
Right.
So then what I very quickly learned was that some people who were in that initial magazine cover went out here and got paid in Self Magazine because I had a friend who sold his creative agency. They got bought by Condé Nast. He kind of explained to me, look, like this thing that you're doing is great, but they're about to make a lot of money off y'all.
Mhm.
And they're not kicking nothing back and they're not talking to you about your strategy. They're not helping y'all with your website. They're not helping you plan an event. And you have to think long term about how you're going to turn this magazine cover into actually impacting the audiences and the community that you intended for this to actually benefit.
Right.
And I personalized that. Like I took that like an assignment.
Mhm.
And it took me a while, but I sat down with, honestly, they were clients of mine. My clients who were strategists at some really big like brands and companies who had a lot of experience. I'm talking like MBAs and doctorates and marketers at like, Walmart, Target, Amazon, Apple, et cetera. And they really like sat with me and helped me build out a business strategy. And the idea was to shift from just being like this Black Lives Matter adjacent like organization into an actual creative agency where our business model was rooted through like social impact.
Mhm.
So it was really about this idea of we are a community of Black storytellers, Black health professionals, activists, and creatives who are coming together to ensure that our collective approach to health equity will result in overturning health disparities
Mhm.
and inequalities. So that's heart disease and how it disproportionately impacts Black people.
Number one killer, Black
Right,
Number one
people.
killer,
right.
yeah.
That is maternal health disparities and
Mhm.
how over 50% of Black women in their maternity journey will experience death and or their child will,
Yep.
right? Things like that. Like those are the issues that are specific to our outcomes and our journeys and our culture, but the actual industry as a whole doesn't really do shit to address them, right?
Yeah.
On top of it, the industry has made a point to drive awareness to these things for the sake of like clicks and advertising and like Self Magazine, right?
Exactly.
But in terms of providing a solution, in terms of being collaborative with the actual practitioners in the space. Like they're in the business of selling magazines. They're not in the business of solving health equity.
Yep.
Right. So it's like, okay, cool, heard you. But then when you think about like the pharmaceutical industry and like the healthcare industry, again, both of those industries, they put profits over people.
100%.
And they're also ran and led by people who are very much intellectuals when it comes to like health and healthcare systems. They're not thinking about how the actual doctors who are the ones on the front lines doing the work, how they can be of best service to their communities.
No.
That's just not how the industry is structured. So in my mind, it was like, well, how do we develop both a business strategy and an event strategy that essentially build out a wellness universe where at any point in that universe, when a Black or brown person interacts with it, the outcome is a positive one for them. So whether that's like they're considering the maternity journey, whether that they're navigating fibroids, whether that's them trying to understand how their relationship with food and the understanding of it is impacted by their mental health, or whether that's like, man, I'm living with addiction, or I just want to make some changes to my physical health.
Right.
All of these things, we probably, if we don't deal with personally, we got a family member, somebody that we know in our community who lives with that.
It's right there.
So it's
right
like,
there in front of us.
It's only 1 degree away. It's only 1 degree away.
But if you ask, like there are, what I will name is that there are organizations and communities who are doing work specifically to combat like one of those elements at a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like one of my homegirls has Health in Her Hue. Her name is Ashley Wisdom. She co-founded that. Another guy, homies, and they're all Fit for Us members, but another gentleman, friend of mine, he's got Black Health Connect. It is a network of Black health practitioners who network together.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's like Black doctors. Exactly. Right. They have like a social mixer that they do it. It's great.
Yeah. I think it's quarterly, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And like these are all great things. And I think the difference is that what I recognize is that how can I not limit the health experience and the health journey for our community as a whole to one thing? Because if you ask me, it's intersectional.
Yep.
Right? Like if I'm a Black man and I love a Black woman, it's not even so much about whether or not she wants to be a mom. It's the idea that like her health is my priority as well. Right? So I care about her. So I have to have a level of understanding about who J. Marion Sims is when she goes to see her OBGYN, right? Because if I do and she doesn't, at least I know that I can ask certain questions and have conversations with her about things that she might be considering or might not be considering that will actually have a positive outcome in terms of her experience.
Mm-hmm.
If I am a Black man and I care about, let's say I'm not, but let's just say I'm a queer Black man and I care about another, my partner, right? And I know that they are experiencing trauma and relative to like stress, just like in general, because like they're queer and people like pick on them and like they deal with homophobia, right? And I know that as a Black man, there's not a lot of safe spaces for you to feel seen in the first place. And in terms of like suicide, we have the highest rates between the ages of 25 to 50.
Yep.
So it's like,
and a lot of people don't know that.
Right. So
No,
now
not
it's
at all.
like, if I don't understand that and my partner is over here living a life and like they're having thoughts about harming themselves, how do I have the language to be supportive of you in that moment? And I think that like too many times, I think we recognize that like as Black folks, we're not a monolith, but our wellness and our care experience for ourselves and our community, people that we love, isn't monolithic as well. So it's like, how do I build out intersectional outcomes, intersectional programming, strategies, and a business model that is really going to address the intersectionality of our experiences, recognizing that like we never deal with one thing at one time, right? So for me, it was like, when I say Fit for Us, I don't mean just trainers. I'm really trying to that was a starting point for like the catalyst of it. But really what I'm trying to do is combat heart disease, diabetes. What I'm trying to do is get Black and brown bodies to have the opportunity to be as healthy and experience joy in all the different ways possible without it ever being an issue or a feeling of like, I can't do that, or I don't have access to that, or I don't know where to go to get this, or I don't know who to talk to about this. It's like, nah, fam, like we're going to have events, products, services, etc., that no matter where you are on the spectrum of health and wellness, you can get what you need and in a way that's accessible, sustainable, and you can go on and like pass it on to other people and tap into.
Bro, that's so powerful, man, because you know it resonates with us for obvious reasons.
Right.
And we just have to close this health gap.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you look at the stats and we're at the bottom on all the
Everything.
lists,
All of it.
like every single list, it's alarming. And you know, we look into this because we're wellness professionals.
Right.
So we do our homework, we look at what's the numbers that are out there, and it's like it's so disheartening to see that. Because you look around at our friends and the people we grew up with, and it's like, yo, one of these people are gonna deal with that, and they're gonna deal with this.
Right.
And it's like, I know this it's because they don't know where to go.
Right.
They don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. So like I love that. So let me ask you this: what was it for you that got you started with fitness and taking this and going down this path?
Part of it was, man, so like to that point that you were just making, part of it was that it felt so dark. Like it legit always felt like it was a sad sob story.
Mhm.
And I think a part of me recognized that, like, yo, there's still a lot of joy in there. Like there's still a lot of happiness in it. Because I felt like when people talked about Black folks in fitness, is either it was hypersexual, it was hyper performance driven, like athlete, like minded and focused. It was super leaning into like grind culture, or it was like we're all gonna die. Right? It was never like, yo, shit is lit, and I'm blessed, and I'm happy, and I love my body,
Yep.
and like there's these things, but like we're gonna provide solutions to them. We're gonna name them that these are problems. We're gonna name that like part of that is rooted in bias and racism and institutionalized like oppression. But at the same time, like we're not gonna sit around and just like point the finger and call things out, because we are actually practitioners and operators within this space. So we know what we need
Yeah.
for ourselves, for our parents,
Yep.
for people that we love and care for more than anyone else does. So like, why not collectively share that 10 years experience, 15 years experience, right? And build out solutions that can really like meet people where they are, instead of just like always naming and calling out the fact that it's a problem. I think it was that kind of feeling, the feeling of like, I wanted to really create opportunities and experiences that were going to center like joy. And I felt like the conversations, it's like I remember watching The Color of Health. It's a doc by Oprah. It's really good. She teamed up with National Geographic to do it. And it's a great doc, but
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
my critique on the doc was that it was super intellectual. Like sometimes the problem with providing solutions is that the language used to narrate around them goes over the
Yep.
heads of the people who need it the most.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Exactly.
how are you offering solutions and offering up support when the people that you're talking to don't understand what you're saying?
And we talk about this all the time, is him and I can provide a lot of educational information to people,
Right.
but if they don't have the ability to digest it and they don't have a foundation of
It's
understanding,
useless.
it's useless information.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the reason why him and I are even sitting here, is because we really thought that, like, look, we got to give people the basics.
Mhm.
We got to get people just to have an understanding of what their health and wellness should look like, feel like, sound like.
Yeah.
Different aspects of it that they may not be considering, and
Exactly.
just hear it in just a regular conversation.
And just having a regular
Yeah.
conversation, because I think when you get to a point where it's just normal to have these health and wellness conversations within
Mhm.
your family and your close friends,
Right.
then all of a sudden you start seeing those little micro changes start to occur. What happens is, like you were mentioning beforehand, the problems are spoken about, but on these big macro scales.
Yeah.
And that's too hard for the regular person to digest, because they're like, this is too overwhelming.
Yeah.
I can't make any changes. This is too stressful. It's actually stressful for them to have to make these changes. And so that's why I love what you're doing with the community here, is, and why we love what we're doing, is because we just want people to make small daily choices
Yeah.
that are
and
going
to
to
find their tribe, man. 'Cause
Exactly.
the community is a big part of what
1000%,
prevents people
man.
from, like, moving
1000%.
forward.
Yeah.
Because we need a kind of accountability, we need motivation, we need people to help pull us along. And if you're doing it alone, like, it's really hard. Like,
Yeah.
because not everyone loves working out, not everyone loves movement, and I've learned to empathize with those people because I get it. Like, you know, we don't represent the majority.
No,
We
right.
are the minority who
And-
really
yeah.
has, like, who loves this stuff. Like, I
Yeah.
find joy in working out,
Right.
sweating, making progress. I get it. I found that early in my life, but some people find it later.
Might not, and that's okay.
And
I
that's
think-
okay. Yeah.
I think what I learned, and I tell people this all the time, I'm like, man, you know, Martin Luther King didn't have abs. Right? Like that's a real thing. Because I think what people forget, I think sometimes like our industry will lead you to believe, because they're trying to sell you something. Right?
100%.
But our industry will lead you to believe that if you don't have abs, you're not a positive contributor to society.
Yep.
Right? Like, if you don't have abs, you're not a happy person. If you don't have abs, you can't lead a family. If you don't have a big butt, a nice boobs, or a sculpt chest and biceps,
Yep.
like you're not worthy of like happiness. And it's like, fam, if you look at our history in terms of like Black and brown people, we have throughout for generations and generations and for centuries been able to have amazing humans
Yep.
who were like our elder statesmen, our Mount Rushmore, if you will. And like they were not movement like
Driven.
centered,
No,
driven
not at
like
all.
people, right? So it's like my job as a health practitioner is to show up in spaces and provide you with a level of language and access that is sustainable for you to practice and engage with this in whatever way works for you.
Mhm.
I don't care if that's Pilates or manicures and pedicures.
Yeah.
I don't care if that's going for walks and listening to your favorite playlist or if that's meditating and journaling. It's going to keep you to fall in love with yourself and feel good about yourself in a sustainable way. Like that's what I want to like support you in doing. And I recognize that for me, sustainability is a spectrum.
Mhm.
And as long as you're tapping into all the elements on that spectrum, you know, that's really what I care about. And I think oftentimes our industry leaves people to believe that no, it's got to be movement. And if you don't move around enough, you're going to die and you're going to die tomorrow. And it's like,
No.
last time I checked, like Andre Talley, iconic like figure in fashion,
Yep.
huge person. He was about 6'7", 6'6", 200 plus pounds. And he was a plus size dude. He lived to be almost 80 years old.
Yeah.
So it's like what are you talking about? I'm gonna die. Like if somebody lived to 80, fam, I'm not saying that's like the greatest age to die, but I'm saying
They lived a life.
that you lived a life.
You lived a
lived a
life.
long
You know what I mean?
100%.
So
Yeah.
I think like people miss out on that. And I think part of that is because like our industry, again, it just prioritizes profit over people.
1000%. We were just talking about this on a previous episode where we were like the social media is just driving profit, and not actually changing anybody's thoughts and lifestyles for longevity.
Right.
Right? We got these quick fix things going out right now, these quick fads, these quick nutritional things like take this pill or take this diet and everything like that.
Don't get me started.
And we,
on nutrition. Like,
no, but we've talked about this before.
we
But
have.
it's okay to tap back into it because it just goes into like we were saying, man. Is I'm not trying to change every single thing that you do every day.
Right.
I just want you to feel comfortable in your own skin, confident in your own skin. You be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm happy with who I am.
Right.
And do I want to make some change? Yes, but I'm confident in who I am. And I feel like if we can do that all as fitness professionals and tap into our family, our friends, our clients, our colleagues, we did our job.
Yeah.
And that's all we really want to do here, man. We just want people to feel good about themselves. And if we can drop 100,000 jewels on them and they pick up 10 of them,
Fine.
That's fine.
we
Yeah.
cool.
That's fine because when you really like love yourself, then that's why you're doing the things that you do.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't have that self love, then you're doing this because you feel like you don't belong,
have
or
to.
you
Right.
you don't feel like you're that person on Instagram, like something's wrong with you. But
Right.
when you have that self love, then you're doing that movement practice. You're taking better care, being more focused with your nutrition, getting your sleep because
You want to.
you deserve that.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember one of my favorite writers is James Baldwin. He's on my t-shirt and today's his birthday.
What are the odds? of
Right.
that?
I don't know if James Baldwin could deadlift 2 times his body weight.
Probably not.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Probably
I
not.
don't know.
Probably not. Yeah.
I don't know if James Baldwin could run, a 5K in under 20 minutes, or even 30 minutes. I don't know.
Mhm.
I really don't. I don't care.
Right.
Right? It's James Baldwin. It's like you can have a positive, happy, joyous life and be a positive contributor to society and, not look like insert your favorite, most ideal, like looking body. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
think loving yourself is the most important thing and doing things that are going to pour into you and make you feel like the best version of yourself.
Yep.
That's what really matters.
Yeah, because we want to get people away from these aesthetically driven goals,
Right.
because
Yep.
there's so much more to it than that. The mental health side of things is a huge benefit of why you get on this journey of wellness, right?
I've had abs I'm looking in this camera to say it. I've had abs my entire life since I was a child. I've never not had abs. The heaviest I've been is 245. The leanest I've been is about, as an adult, it's probably about like 200, 205. And at all stages of those numbers in terms of how my weight has fluctuated, I've always had abs. And I promise you, that's not like my core has always been weak. It's probably one of the weakest things on my body. And I say that to say that like having abs for some people is like a signaler of like, oh, I'm really fit. And it's like, nah, if you think about your fitness in terms of like your physical appearance and your ability to do things, great. But I
Right.
promise you, like I've had abs and I've also been depressed at the same time.
Yep.
And I'm telling you that
Oh,
like
you said
That's
Right.
it right there,
Like,
man.
I hope y'all paying attention.
I hope y'all hear
like
that right
that's
there.
that like
Yeah.
people they only understand the nuances of fitness and the ways that it's marketed to them, not recognizing that like they're trying to sell you a product and a service, right? Like because if they really told you like you could be depressed and miserable, suicidal, or like be navigating like a disorder, like you could have bulimia, like there's a lot of different things that you could be navigating and living with and still have abs.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want abs or do you want to feel like you love yourself? And if you loving yourself, part of it means that like, y'all want abs, just know that like it's more rooted in you and your body fat percentage than it is about how strong your core is.
Yep.
But having a strong core is the thing that's going to allow you to sustain and be able to prevent yourself from getting injured and be able to keep you well balanced. And if you like happen to slip and fall and need to catch yourself, or you're carrying something that's heavy on one side or offloaded, that's going to protect you, not how nice your abs look.
100%.
So,
I told the story in one of the early episodes about one of the guys I met early in my training career, and he looked like a superhero.
Right.
And I talked to him, I was like, yo, what do you do? Like, what are you eating? What are you lifting? He's like, bro, you don't want to live like me.
Right.
I can't enjoy life. I can't enjoy the foods I want to eat. I can't hang out with my friends.
Yep.
But I'm doing this because I'm getting paid for it.
Right.
If you don't want to get paid for looking like this, then live your life.
Right.
And that completely shifted my perspective on a lot of things and shaped my fitness journey. That's when I really started exploring other modalities. But not everyone has the opportunity to have that conversation.
I remember, so I wrote a story. She's a mentor of mine. She's the first American-born Black woman to win a marathon, to medal at the Boston Marathon, and to run sub 3 hours in a marathon. Her name is Marilyn Bevins. And she dedicated all of her, prime years to running. And I never forget, like, I'm doing an interview with her for ESPN, and I asked her, like, what is some advice you would give to younger runners or like new runners or whatever? And she was like, don't spend all your time running.
Yep.
She was like, because I spent so much time running that when I stopped running competitively and I was in my 50s and my 60s and I wanted friends to hang out with, I ain't have none. And I was like, damn. She was like, yeah. She was like, I missed out on so many weddings, so many moments to like further my life and to experience joy with people who I love, who I knew all those years.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, she doesn't regret not being a mom, but what she was saying is that like in your pursuit of the things that you love and enjoy, just remember that there's gonna come a time and day where like you're gonna like walk away from that. You're not gonna do that as much
Forever. Yeah.
and you're gonna want to have relationships. Not like she didn't mean that in like a romantic way. She was just saying
No.
relationships in general.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like
It all
she said that
requires
to me, and
time.
I was like,
All those
Bro,
things
but
require time. It's
exactly.
a trade-off.
It's a
Like if
trade-off,
you're gonna
yeah.
be putting in 2-3 hours a day, working out or stretching or whatever it is,
Right.
just know that that's time you're not putting into relationships
Right.
and other things that are important in your life.
We had a
We-
whole episode on that,
Oh,
man.
Right.
Just
about
talking
creating
about
balance.
just creating balance,
right.
and being able to not just worry about your strength and your nutritional habits and how you're making money and am I sleeping enough and like all these factors to life. And I feel like where we're at right now, we talked about it even before we got on here, is people are in this like, if you're not doing my thing, you're losing. And
Right.
it's like, no, man, we all got to find balance. Like, do I love working out? I love working out, man.
Yeah.
I love training. I love picking up heavy things. I love doing that. But I'm in a space now where I'm learning at 35 years old where training can't just be the sole proprietor of my life.
Right.
I have to enjoy my family because you don't know how long they're going to be here. I have to enjoy my friends. I have to enjoy my other loved ones and everything that's around
Were
me.
you
Like,
the one who showed me that graph about there's a graph that shows how much time you spend with significant people in your life? With
So
your
I was-
parents, your grandparents, with your friends, your workers, and your colleagues, and it was pretty.
it was very despairing. So like there was a podcast that spoke to that graph that I was listening to, and the guy was breaking it down, and he was just saying, on average, what do most adults do as they get older? They see their family win on the holidays,
Yeah.
right? And the average age everybody's living now is around 74 to 75 years old. So if your family, your father, your mother, your aunt, your uncle are all pushing that 60 to 70 range, and you only see them two times a year,
Right.
that means you're only going to see them 24 more times.
Right.
When you really think about it, you got to sit down, look in the mirror. I'm only going to see my father and my mother 24 more times if they're 62 years old and the average age is 74.
Yeah, that's
So
real.
when you think about that and like you really sit down and put that in perspective, you're like, no, I got to make a better effort to make that happen. Because 24 times ain't enough. It's not enough for me,
Right.
and I know it's not enough for most of the people that I'm around with.
Yeah.
And we got to find that, and that's where the balance talks to. Is like, do I love looking good and feeling good? Yes, but if I got to miss a workout for a couple days because I want to go see my fam upstate, I'm doing it.
So I'm
Or
okay.
if my friend is in town for this and that, and I got to miss this I got to miss my own health and well being to make sure those relationships are intact. For me, that's important now. I
Right.
think if you talked to us 10 years ago,
It'll be different, but
It'd be
it's
different, though.
different stages.
it's a different stages in life, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to speak people to is that, like, look, you might be in your 20s and the aesthetically driven goals are your priority right now. And
Right.
that's fine. We don't want to despair you from doing that. But just know as you get older, the relationships become more important. Your mental and emotional state becomes more important. Your finances become more prevalent because now you're responsible for not just yourself,
Right.
but other people that are around you. So you got to fill those buckets, man. And we want people just to evenly distribute their life and their time to not just picking up some weights.
It's got to make sense.
It's gotta make
gotta
sense.
Right.
and it's got to support what's important to you. I'm not going to tell anybody what should be number one for them, but I just know based on the data what is important to us as human beings,
Right.
which
Yep.
is other people,
Yeah.
community.
We
Right.
want,
So this wellness thing that we're preaching and talking about is so you could be there for the people that matter to you.
Yeah.
And if that's, if you're prioritizing making money, then that means being there for the people who work for you or that you work with.
Right.
If that means having a family, that means being there for your partner, for your children, whatever that looks like for you, your wellness is going to support you being there for those people. So like just making it make sense, finding people who, are relatable and that can give you guidance because they've probably been through it before
Right.
is super important. Now that we're talking about that, did you have any mentors along this way?
I had too many.
Yep.
I
He had too many, right?
had too many. I
Exactly.
had
But
too
that
many.
I feel like that's a good problem though, man.
Yeah.
Like I
did.
want to run into more people. Like we talked about this when we had somebody else on, when we were like, what we love about this is we get to get in a space with like-minded individuals
Yeah.
and just keep preaching stuff that him and I already talk about on a daily basis.
Right.
And we want people to connect to that it's like, yeah, Rashawn and I have a relationship with training and health and wellness and family and friends. And we got all these connections, but it's like we got connections with all these other people out in this space and they all feel the same way. They talk the same way. It might look a little different, right, in terms of their practice,
Right.
but we're all preaching the same thing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of synergies.
There's a lot of synergy going on, and that's why we're sitting here, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. Because I'll be the first one to say it. Like, I'm a representation is important, diversity is important, but just because people look like you don't mean they think like you.
Yep.
And just because someone thinks like you doesn't mean that their approach to doing what you both do or have in common is the same.
Exactly.
So I really appreciate when there's synergy with folks on all three levels because, it's a big industry. It gets really small when you start breaking things down into
Yep.
certain groups. And when they get really small, you start to know a lot of people and everybody ain't for everybody.
Nope.
But I will say that anyone who's about preaching this idea of just like having a sustainable and accessible relationship with the overall health and this idea of health equity, I'm always like down to just support and uplift. So, man, yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, we're here preaching the long game.
Right.
We're gonna have these bodies for a long time, man.
Right.
And the way the world is looking right now, like if we aren't on the forefront of this, like it's gonna get really ugly. And
It's only
even though
getting
we're
worse,
out
man.
here doing the work, it's still getting really ugly. There's a lot of things working against us, a lot of headwinds. But I'm gonna remain optimistic and I'm gonna keep doing the work. It's
Right.
like you're out here doing the work because if we stop, then
Who else is gonna do it?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie, man. The numbers are telling us that we're only heading down a darker path in terms of this health and wellness space. But I know we all are gonna do the best that we can to be useful on the grand scheme.
speaking of that, I know you got an event coming up. I want to make
Yes.
sure that you
Oh,
Absolutely,
yeah,
man.
yeah. For Us Festival.
Drop
When
us,
is
man.
that?
Yeah, for Us Festival is a wellness block party for the culture. It's happening in October. We haven't announced the date yet, simply because we haven't announced it yet. But it's happening in October. I'm excited to talk more about our lineup because it is essentially I talked about how wellness is intersectional, right? That experience. So the event is that. Like one of the workshops is like an interactive workshop, almost like a classroom kind of like environment where a dietitian and a therapist are going to talk you walk you through some programming that has you examine your relationship with food through the lens of your mental health. And I think that is a really dope opportunity for people to really harness their own like relationship with wellness. And then we got some big name DJs doing the party that is going to happen at the end of it. We have a A-list celebrity director.
They playing reggae?
Yes.
I'm there.
Yeah. And we got I can't say his name just yet because I want to announce it on social, but we have an A-list celebrity director who's directed like some blockbuster films, who's going to be sitting down and talking about his wellness experience and how he utilizes and taps into wellness to support his creativity. It's called Wellness for Creatives, and I'm really excited about that. And then we have a bunch of workshops and panels centered around either mental health resources for Black men and or maternal health and health in terms of fibroids for Black women. And then we got some cool like workouts and classes featuring some dope coaches. So one day event happening from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's 2 different tracks. So you can kind of pick and choose. I'm going to do this workout. I'm going to go shower change. I'm going to do this panel, this workshop, this panel, but we're all going to come together for the sit down conversation, the fireside chat for Wellness for Creatives. And then the party for it. There'll be a bar, there'll be drinks. Everybody can have fun, have a good time. So yeah, tell a friend to tell a friend. It's coming. We'll announce it pretty soon. And I'm really looking forward to it.
That's amazing.
That's amazing, bro.
I'm getting my tickets. I'm coming at that goes without saying,
time.
but I'm just letting you know I'm there. Mike, you gonna fly in?
Of course I'm gonna fly in, man.
Yeah, man.
You know
say
Mike's been to some of our like smaller programs for like the community, and I would say, if you are, however you identify, if you're single, you're gonna make a lot of friends there.
Yeah.
If you're not single, but you're just into wellness, you're gonna have a really good time. You're gonna learn some things there. And if you are, just someone who is open to building a wellness community and finding your tribe within wellness and connecting with people who are really passionate about it, like you are or are open to being or curious about, it's gonna be a great place to just hang out and have a good time. So come party with us, come hang out, come drink, come kick it, and we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. Man, look, real talk, I just appreciate you coming in, man. Seriously,
no problem.
Man.
Thanks for having me, bro.
What? Are you kidding me? It's my guy right here, man. So look, it's Strength We Trust again coming at you. And honestly, this was an amazing episode. We hope you guys are going to love it. And as always, Strength We Trust on all platforms. Check us out on YouTube, TikTok, everywhere you go. And like I said, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that click button. Probably going to have a little scroll going right across here as that happens, as you should. And
make sure you tell the people where to find you.
Everywhere. You can call me. I'll be around.
I'm around,
Yeah, I'm an accessible dude. Good work on Instagram, GOODWRK, Percell Dugger on TikTok, and good work in Percell Dugger on Facebook as well, or Meta, what they call it these days. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, holla at me, I'm around.
Absolutely. And look, check us out. We'll be back again soon. We're going to keep building this community out brick by brick. And we want to keep promoting health, wealth, everything in between. And my man, Rashawn, anything else to leave him off on?
I think that's about it, man. Tune in next time, man. I'm looking forward to the next episode. We're going to keep bringing these guests on.
Strength We Trust, baby.
Peace.
Let's get it.